Former Lusher teacher is facing some allegations of grooming and sexual assault in a lawsuit filed by a former student.
It's our policy not to name victims of sexual abuse, but this woman asked us to tell her story for a David Hammer investigation.
And David joining us now in studio with more of these explosive details. David.
Yeah, Charisse and Katie, Lusher graduate Chloe Riviere first made these allegations more than a year ago when she first filed for a restraining order against her former teacher, Ed Cerrone. And Cerrone quietly resigned prior to this school year. But we're doing this story now after reviewing years of text messages. They appear to back up her claims that they had sex when he was still a teacher and she was still a student at what's now called the Willow School. Chloe Riviere is 26 now, a poised young professional. But until a few years ago, she claims in a new lawsuit, she was, quote, powerless to break free from the control of her middle school English teacher.
So from the time I was 11 to 24, that's 13 years of him conditioning me to completely rely on him for everything.
The lawsuit accuses former Lusher charter school teacher and coach Ed Cerrone of grooming Riviere from the time she was 11, when he was her 6th grade homeroom teacher. She says she started babysitting his kids at 12, started hanging out with him outside school, and alleges he sexually abused her when she was 16. And before you turned 17, he touched you?
Oh, yeah.
The lawsuit claims Cerrone could be charged criminally with molestation for acts Riviere alleges he performed when she was still 16.
But it was very clear that after my 17th birthday, the first time we had time alone, it was like, oh, it's on the table.
By law, someone must be 17 to consent to have sex in Louisiana. And on Valentine's Day 2013, just 5 weeks after her 17th birthday, the lawsuit alleges Cerrone pulled her roughly to him on the couch, spanked her, and had sexual intercourse with her. Attached to the lawsuit are text messages that Riviere swears under oath are between her and Cerrone. They clearly reference that Valentine's Day and the sexual relationship that she alleges went on from there for years.
I didn't have any texts from when I was a minor to give to the police department. So I had ones that referenced back.
In this March 2020 text, she tells Cerrone, quote, "You had sex with me when I was a child." He replies, quote, "How old were you?" She says 17. He says, "Okay, and did we have sex?" She responds, "Valentine's Day 2013. He replies, "Right. Should I call the DA to file charges against myself, or do you want to call?" Later in the same exchange, he asks her, "Are you blame-free because you were a child?" Then he adds, "I hooked up with my high school AP history teacher. You know who bears the blame? Me. I knew exactly what I was doing."
I mean, everyone's in a position at some point or another where someone has power over them, and we can all, just by the grace of God, hope that they don't abuse us with it.
Because Cerrone was employed as a teacher at Lusher and Riviere was a student at the school at the time, the lawsuit alleges he violated this state law prohibiting sexual conduct between educator and student. But that's a misdemeanor, which allows 2 years to file charges. In June 2021, Riviere reported Cerrone to the police and filed for this restraining order 7 years after she graduated from Lusher.
I reported him and the investigation began, and then he resigned before students came to the school.
The court granted the restraining order, which is in effect until later this month. Cerrone has not been charged with the crime. Hi, Mr. Cerrone. This is David Hammer calling. I'm a reporter at WWL TV. Cerrone said he would wait to respond until he files a formal response in court. The lawsuit also tries to pin some of the blame on Lusher, now known as the Willow School. It alleges the school, quote, failed to protect Chloe from being sexually abused.
You know, and he carries the responsibility for his actions. However, the environment that Lusher created enabled him.
Sharon Brilski, a spokesperson for the Willow School, says the school heard about the restraining order from another former student. Title IX of the federal civil rights law requires schools to investigate any such claim. Brilski said the school reached out to interview Riviere, but Riviere said she needed time to talk to her attorney, and that's when all communication with the school stopped. The school said Cerrone denied the allegations. Brilski said the school has a policy requiring teachers to report any communications with students that could be construed as inappropriate, and has no record of Cerrone ever reporting any inappropriate communications or contact with Miss Riviere. But in the text messages filed in court, Cerrone repeatedly talks about keeping their relationship when she was at Lusher a secret. In one text exchange, he says a person who knows about their relationship, quote, can make my life difficult, very difficult. But then he says, the school adores both of us. If we deny together, this goes absolutely nowhere. Now that Riviere is accusing him publicly in the lawsuit, she expects blowback, but believes it's worth it.
If one child or one family can hear this story and not have that type of thing happen to them, then I would feel good.
And she says she's excited to try to live her life on her own, finally without him. Now, in the lawsuit, Riviere seeks damages from the school and Cerrone, claiming pain, suffering, and the cost of psychiatric treatment. After we broke this story online earlier today, the Willow School sent out an email to its school community assuring them the school has a zero-tolerance policy for any form of sexual misconduct and sexual harassment. In part, the statement says, quote, while these alleged events are said to have occurred in prior years, we continue to recognize our responsibility to protect the safety of our students, which includes their physical, mental, and emotional well-being.